Hey everybody, it's MotherGoose27 and welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking about a video game series that I had barely even heard about. I'd never seen any gameplay, never really heard anyone talk about it, nothing. But when my roommate found out I've never played it, he was like, you have to. It is one of the best games ever. And so I was like, well, with the sequel coming out soon, why don't I just give it a shot? So I finally played Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. If you want to see me actually play Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, you can find a playlist for it on one of these sides. I'm not sure at the moment. Now, also, a big part of me playing it was my fans. Every Sunday I try and play a game that you guys pick. So if you want to actually be a part in picking the games that I stream, go ahead and join my Discord, link in the description. Below, we'll actually be voting on the next game I'm streaming here pretty soon. I'm going to split this video up into 4 parts. I'm going to give my general thoughts. I'm going to talk about the gameplay. Then I'm going to talk about this game and mental health awareness. And I will give some final thoughts. Let's get into it. Overall, I really loved this game. I was completely just blown away from the beginning to the end. I absolutely loved it. I could not believe it took me so long to play this game. I'm so mad at myself that I waited for so long to play this game. But it was just so good. The combat was good. The puzzles were intriguing. Now, I did have some issues with both of those, but I will talk about those in the gameplay section. Hellblade Senua Sacrifice is a short, maybe 7 to 10 hour-ish, story-based single-player campaign, and it is absolutely amazing. We don't really get to see a lot of games like this anymore. Don't get me wrong, I love myself a multiplayer game, but it is also really nice seeing these more cinematic, story-based single-player campaigns. They are a lot of fun, and I cannot wait for Hellblade 2. Okay, let's talk about the gameplay. Let's start with combat first. The combat mechanic was really great. It was just all so fluid, and it just felt right. It felt smooth. It felt rewarding when your hits landed, and it was so frustrating when you made a mistake. Or I guess specifically when I made a mistake. But as much as I absolutely loved the gameplay, towards the end of the game, I just kind of felt annoyed anytime I was put into a combat situation, just because you were fighting the same technically 5 enemies over and over and over again. And by the end, it just felt a little tedious. And so something I'd really like to see in the next game is a little more enemy varieties. Fighting each of them felt great, and every time you got to a new one, it was exciting trying to figure out how to beat this new enemy. But that was only about halfway through the game-ish when you finally fought the last one. And then from that point on, it was just different variations or different orders of how they would attack you and the numbers they had, which was fine. Like I said, it just got a little tedious towards the end. And then the puzzles, kind of the same situation. The puzzles were really unique and interesting, and there were some really great puzzles, some very unique puzzles throughout it that you only saw once, and those were really fun. But then there were also puzzles that we saw multiple times, and they kind of just felt, same thing with the combat, a little tedious by the end. Like, there's a puzzle where there's a locked door and you have these symbols, and then you have to go find those symbols out in nature, and that was really awesome. I've never seen anything really like that before. But by the end, I was just kind of like, oh, I don't want to do this again. Again, just with combat, something I'd really love to see in the sequel is just a little more variety with the puzzles. But overall, it was amazing. I really enjoyed the gameplay. And honestly, by the time I actually started feeling like this, that it was getting a little tedious, I was already pretty much through the game. I was pretty close to getting to Hela. Let's just talk about the bosses real quick. I know I probably should have talked about that in the combat section, but each of the bosses felt unique. They felt different from the common enemies, which I really appreciated. The Fenrir fight was really frustrating, especially because I beat it and then closed the game and realized it hadn't saved, and I had to fight him again, which sucked. But once you learn Fenrir's patterns, it really wasn't that hard to beat him. The Hela fight, I thought, was really unique because you kind of just fought till you died, Like, it just kept spawning in common enemies. Well, you did have to fight shadow versions of all the other bosses, which was great. I really enjoyed getting to see them again. I literally was in the stream, like, one of them popped up, and I was like, okay, as long as the other two don't pop up, we'll be fine. And then the other two popped up. But it was a lot of fun. And then you just fought what I believe is an endless amount of common enemies until you died. Maybe there's 2 separate endings. Maybe if you died, there was an ending. Maybe you could fight through all of them and there was a different one. I don't know. I died and it ended the game. So that's where I'm at. But I really enjoyed the boss fights, and I was really surprised, but also pleasantly surprised with the fact that we didn't actually fight Hela. We hear her name throughout the campaign. It's very clear that is the end goal. And then we don't actually fight her, at least gameplay-wise. The ending cinematic's a little vague, but I thought that was a really interesting choice, and I actually really liked it. Okay, let's talk about this game and mental health. If I'm being completely honest, this game did not affect me in the ways that I necessarily thought it would. I knew going in that a large part of it was dealing with mental health, and I honestly did feel like it was a good representation of mental disorders. And as somebody who's had a really bad struggle with my mental health, I was a little worried that maybe this game might have been a little too much for me. And to be honest, it wasn't. I thought it was done very tastefully. It wasn't like triggering. It just felt like, oh yeah, that's it. They got it. And then we kind of moved on, which I really appreciated. I really appreciate the story that they were trying to tell. I really appreciated the fact that they told a good story without being over dramatic. I didn't really feel like there was stereotypes. This team worked extremely hard on capturing the feel of mental health without romanticizing it, which is a big problem in media today. I'm looking at you, 13 Reasons Why. My whole point is, it was done very, very well, and I appreciate the time and effort that this team went into creating the story they did. My whole point is, I'm just really glad that games like this exist, and people like that are out there who actually want to tell a good story around mental health. Final thoughts. Ratings. Let's start with ratings. I would give this game an 8 out of 10. Really amazing. Something I didn't talk about, and I should have, was the sound design. This has got to be in my top 3 games in terms of sound design. The music, the sound effects, the the freaking panning was just amazing. The sound team did so good. And if you play this game, you've got to play it with headphones. If you can, of course. I'd definitely give it an 8 out of 10. Sound design's amazing. Gameplay is really fun. Like I said, if the only reason I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 and not a 10 out of 10 is because the gameplay does get a little tedious towards the end, in my opinion, but still absolutely amazing. I would recommend this game. I recommend this game so highly. If you haven't played it, you definitely should. It is really fun. It's a really good mental health awareness story, and I'm really excited for the sequel. I'm really excited for the sequel. Anyway, I think that is all for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I will be back posting videos and streaming regularly again. I'm really sorry. Between my vacation and moving, this last month was July just in general was just really hard in terms of content creation. So I apologize for that. But thank you guys for being patient. And yes, we're back to posting content regularly. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to join the flock. And I will see you in the next one. Mother Goose out.